You know, we wanted to take advantage of this amazing couple being here, and it's really cool because you guys are in a relationship series right now, right? And it's been really good. Can I just say how helpful today has been?
Yeah.
To think about this idea that, you know, we talk about it here at Reverb a lot, this idea that we are two whole people in Christ becoming one flesh, right? No one can fill us. No one can complete us. That line in Jerry Maguire, "You complete me," that's just total garbage.
But it was beautiful.
But it's beautiful in a way that's so
garbage.
unbiblical.
Garbage.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just not biblical. And so what happens is we are waiting for people to complete us. We even say stuff like, "This is my better half," and "They're my better half," and it's just almost anti-gospel, and we don't realize we're saying it, but we do say those types of things. And so the reality of this for you guys, how does this play out in your world in real time? I mean, I know you guys talked a little bit about that instance with the spa and the people there at Whistler and all of that, but is there a moment that you felt like one of you had to complete the other? Is there a time and a season in your life where you just felt like you were relying on? Because I think so many times we do rely on our spouse for that.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely been a journey that Shane and I have been walking on for quite some time. But in 2015, I lost my mom to cancer. And really prior to that, Shane and I had never really fought. We had a really peaceful marriage, so we thought. But what we discovered was actually that we actually were pretty disconnected, and so the peace that we experienced was not because we were truly connected and we knew how to own and notice our own needs and take those to God. It's that we were doing that away from one another and not even with God. And then when my mom died, everything just really exploded for me. We had an infant, and I was in deep, deep grief and pain, and I didn't know what to do with that. I had never walked through anything. I'd never lost anyone, and then to go, the first person I lose is like the closest person to me. My mom was a teenager when she had me, so in so many ways we kind of grew up together. And so it was a really, really big loss. But in those first few years after my mom passed away, I looked to Shane to help me with my grief, but not even saying I'm in pain, I'm struggling, I'm sad, I miss my mom. It was just this inside hoping that he'll just figure it out, that you'll just know that I'm in pain, you'll know what I need, and you'll come and comfort me. And it never came, and I just constantly, so for Shane, as he was showing for him and the hoops, he would come over to my hoop out of anxiety, and what I would do is I would leave the relationship and I would be outside of the relationship, but hoping, oh, he's just going to come find me over here and bring me back, and he never did. And I was mad as mad could be, and so much resentment and anger. And I would say I've never, ever been an angry person. And in that season, I was so angry because he wasn't coming to help me deal with my grief, and I wasn't bringing it to him. And for me, the revelation came, and again, it sounds so basic when you say it. You're like, of course we get our needs met in God, but we don't actually do that. We believe that in our heads, but so many of us, we don't actually do that. We look to another person. And for me, it was such a massive revelation to discover, oh, actually, there's nothing wrong that I'm sad. There's nothing wrong that I miss my mom. There's nothing wrong with the fact that I want to honor today it's my mom's birthday, or the day that she passed, or it's just a hard day because I woke up and I miss her, and I'm, going to the grocery store getting bananas and it reminds me of my mom. There's nothing wrong with that, and it's on me to go, hey, I'm having a hard day. Hey, I'm feeling this. Hey, can you give me a hug? Hey, can we talk about this right now? Can I cry with you? Not hope in silence and in kind of in secrecy and in distance that he was going to come and fulfill that. And so this has been such a real life thing that we have had to walk through in the deepest painful season of our life. But it's so freeing. It is just so freeing when I'm not dependent on somebody else to help me to get some comfort and to walk through grief. It is not Shane's responsibility, but you better believe it is his godly responsibility to go, oh, my wife's in pain. I'm going to come put my arm around her. But it's not his job to be that primary source of fulfillment for me. That's only God. And that, honestly, has just been the most healing, most freeing thing for me. And obviously, I could say so much more on that.
No,
but I'm
that's
really
brilliant.
passionate.
That's so good. And that's such a real-time example of how you guys walk through that. Shane, on the guy's side of that, though, was it that you just didn't know how to engage in that season of grief for her, or even how to meet that? Like, I know we're not built to meet the need. We're built to comfort and to be there as a spouse, to love someone through that. But what was going through your mind as she's walking through that grief?
Well, I never realized that I had that much anxiety in my life. I actually wasn't aware of my own story and how in relationship that if I was moving towards her, it was selfishly motivated, usually because it was to deal with my anxiety and my own stuff. And so when I was coming close to her, I was actually wanting her to not be in grief so that I wouldn't feel anxious that something was wrong. I couldn't handle that feeling. And you can tell the difference, can't you, in relationship, when someone is coming close because they need something from you, or when someone is coming close just because they're coming close.
Wow.
And so for me, it was actually dealing with my heart, my responsibility. It was becoming aware of, well, what is the need of my heart? Why am I so anxious all the time? How do I deal with that in the presence of God so that when I'm coming near her, I'm not coming near her to get something. I'm just straight up coming alongside her to be comfort when she's in need.
I love that.
I want to say something else too for me. So when I'm angry or feeling resentment now, because we never not have any of those feelings, right? Until we reach heaven, we're going to deal with emotions. And so when I feel anger or resentment now, that's my cue to go, okay, there's something that I need to have a voice to speak to. There's some kind of need inside of my heart, because for me, my story was stay small, don't use my voice, don't ask for what I need, don't be a burden on others. And when you're in grief, well, that's just like impossible, right? And so for me now, when I feel angry, that's just as Shane was saying, that place of compassion. Okay, yeah, there's something here that I've got to tend to. What is it? What is it, God? What's the need? What do I need to use my voice to speak to, even to let Shane know of what's happening inside my heart?
That's so good. That's really good. Renee, you want to jump in there? Just again, I think that, so the reality is for many, many years when we first got married, there was a major codependency on our relationship. You know, I know sometimes we don't use that language in church, but we are codependent. Instead of being dependent on the Lord, we are codependent on someone else. We want someone else to fulfill those needs. And I think that we walked through a ton of that early on, whether it was insecurities or fear or whatever that is. Do you want to speak to some of that? Or?
Yeah, I stepped outside the hoop too and ran. The hoop thing was such an amazing analogy, by the way.
Super helpful.
I am also an anxious person, but instead of going to fix it, I run in the opposite direction and would rather just not try to fix it so that I don't get hurt. It's like, I'll hurt you so you don't hurt me type thing. So many of these things are so great because you have to try to figure out why you're feeling the way that you're feeling. When we first got married, I just knew that I put everything I was into him, and I needed him to do the same. And he worked, and he did all these other things, and it was just, I was always disappointed. I just was always disappointed. Every holiday, I was disappointed. Every birthday, I was disappointed. I had set these expectations in my mind of what and how he was supposed to care for me, never letting him know what I was actually needing, because I didn't know to do that. And then he felt all the time he was failing. Like, he's just like, I can't win. Like, I just, he would get me something for my birthday, but it's not what I thought he was going to get me for my birthday. He bought me something for Christmas, but it was a microphone. I didn't want a microphone for Christmas.
She has the voice of an angel. I wanted the world to hear it.
And then the other present I thought for sure was great, and that was the cord to the microphone. But
Come on.
anyway.
You need a cord for the microphone.
So
It's been years, folks, but that pain's still there.
Okay. So they don't teach you these things, and I don't know who they are, but
Who are the they?
I wish they'd
just
start teaching me. But what you said is, so, like you mentioned the other day, or yesterday, I think it was, you said, like, even in love songs, it talks about what you need from that other person. It's all about that you are so empty, and that person is going to give you that thing.
Some people want it all, but I don't. You got the microphone in the chord, so
I know that song, but I don't.
Yeah, that's it.
if it ain't
got you, baby.
If it ain't got you, babe. And so I think that we don't even know what we need. Half the time I'm mad at him, I don't know why. So I love what you're saying. It's like, well, what is it? And I've talked about this before, I think, at Connect Nights.
That's so helpful, by the way. It's just like, it's the best. I might need a ride home today, folks. Not sure yet.
Why no?
She'll let me know later.
I'm not mad at you.
She's not mad at me. I'm kidding. I know. I'm
No,
just
not
totally
at all.
kidding.
So identifying what you need and when you need it, and those things change all the time too. And like I said, I'm not a gift person, but for Valentine's Day this year, I wanted something. So I told him.
She did.
Yes.
And guess what?
He dropped me off at therapy,
She got it.
and he went to Target, and he bought me something. Now, in the past, I would get mad that he waited that day. It wasn't ready for me that morning. And he says, Valentine's Day is all day. And in my mind, I'm thinking, you should have been thinking about this for a year. And it should have been, right? It should have been on my table waiting for me beautifully. But you know what? You got to just take what they give sometimes and be thankful.
Yeah, come on, yes. And all the guys said, ooh, ooh, ooh. Amen. Amen. Okay, last question. We have just a couple more minutes. Thank you, honey. That was super helpful. No, it was. Let me tell you why it's helpful. Because Renee in this season is learning to use her voice to tell me what I'm not seeing. We are not mind readers. God has not made all of us with some kind of psychic ability to know what the other person is thinking. So many unmet expectations are expectations that we have for people that they have no idea that you have that for them. So let me just help free some people today. Use your voice. If you're a husband or a wife here today, and a husband is not meeting your expectation, or a spouse is not meeting your expectation, you need to sit on the couch, look each other in the eyes, and just go, hey, here are a few areas that I feel like we're lacking in, or for a few areas in my life that I feel like we're not getting traction in. Now, some of these things, only God will be able to fulfill. But some of it may just be a gift situation where you just have to communicate, hey, I'd like something on Valentine's Day this year. We have stopped buying gifts for each other. It's not because we don't love each other. We just decided a long time ago we were going to spend our money on the children. But if that season has changed, do you understand what I'm saying? But they're not gone. They're always there. And there's more money to be spent now. But anyway. But the point is if that season has changed or something has changed in your love bank that you need filled, that's communication. Last thing is this. We've got about 2 minutes. Last thing is this would be, what do you do when you have a spouse that feels like it's always one way and the other spouse is not reciprocating, or it feels like the marriage is one-sided? Is there anything that you could give us, any advice that you could share with us? Because I think so many times
we're asking for a friend.
We're asking for a friend. Right. Where maybe they're outside of the hoops and the one person just is constantly in all three.
Yeah. Well, I think this is actually this picture of how God has shown this in our marriage. First of all, I would say this: if you're in that circumstance, yeah, my heart actually feels that for you. That's real. For some reason in your story, that's a real thing. And so God, it's not take that away and stop feeling that, which how many times we've heard that message, just stop feeling that way and you'll be better. No, but I actually, as we've been saying all day, what is the need in my heart that's not met? Can you identify it? Maybe you need to go on YouTube later and zoom back into that part where there's heart needs put up there. Which one stands out for you? What's not being met? And then rather than holding that as resentment, to actually take it to God and say, God, where did this need come from? Where this unfulfilled need, the crazy thing is, that unfulfilled need, that primary need, it existed before you met your spouse. And we often think that they're the problem because they're not meeting the need that we had before we even met them.
Come on.
And so sometimes it's actually just being aware that I actually had this heart need before I met you. You aren't my problem. I came into this marriage. And sometimes we just think, if I could just get a different spouse, your buttons are going to go with you into whatever relationship you have. It already was there. And so I think it's that freedom to say, okay, now that I'm becoming aware of what that need is in my heart, number one, I start in the secret place with God. I put that foot, where do I stand? I put one foot in that hoop and I say, God, I'm bringing this need to you. And then it's that second foot that steps into the relationship and says, okay, here's what I need and here's where this comes from me. And I'm growing in my ability to receive it from God and my ability to use my voice to ask for it in the relationship.